Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome for the class. At a very long time we are meeting. So we'll be starting with the 6th chapter. But before that, we'll just quickly do Mangalacharan. Om Jnanatirandasya Jnananjana Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyarini He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I welcome you all for this concluding chapter for this particular unit, that is the 6th chapter, that is Dhyan Yoga. So in the previous chapter, Krishna described how to attain liberation by Nishkam Karma Yoga. And also by Ashtanga Yoga, he briefly actually mentioned in the 27th and the 28th sloka of the 5th chapter. Now, this particular chapter, Krishna is describing about Ashtanga Yoga in greater details. Ashtanga Yoga as a means to control the mind and the senses. And before practicing the Ashtanga or the advanced stages of the Ashtanga, one must be purified by the practice of Nishkam Karma Yoga. And that's why in the 5th chapter, he described about Nishkam Karma Yoga. But Ashtanga Yoga is very difficult for people to practice in general, especially in this age of Kali. So before teaching Ashtanga Yoga, the culmination of Karma Yoga, Krishna first is praising Nishkam Karma Yoga because of his practicality in, because of its practicality. And if you see in this particular chapter, that Ashtanga Yoga will be described, and that is why it is called Dhyan Yoga, because in Ashtanga Yoga you primarily meditate. So from the Aruruksha stage, that is the beginning stage, to the Arudha stage, that is the advanced stage. So that is called the advancement in Ashtanga Yoga. So like if I envision a ladder, like the Aruksha stage, it is like, climbing the ladder. And Arudha is the stage where one is situated on the ladder itself. So when Krishna says Ratha Rudha, it is saying that this charioteer is on the chariot. That way. So for example, when Lord Vishnu, he also has his own Vahan, that you call in, where he is called as Garuda Rudha, where he is situated on Garuda. So Aruksha is one who has started climbing on that particular instrument or the Vahan. So if you see this particular chapter, so the first 9 shlokas, they'll be actually giving us the process by which one can renounce this world. So how to advance in Ashtanga Yoga and or Dhyan Yoga. So in Dhyan Yoga, one renounces the world and focuses exclusively only on meditation. And of course, there is some preliminary purification also that is required, and that he'll be mentioning in the first 9 shlokas itself. And the next 12 shlokas, the next, of course, 22 shlokas, he'll be mentioning about how to practice, like you can say from practice to perfection of this particular yoga. So that he'll be mentioning. And then what is the necessity of controlling the mind and the senses, because these are the ones are the most troublesome. And then what will be the destination of this particular yogi, and why out of all this, why bhakti yoga is the topmost. This is what he'll be describing. So let's dive into the chapter and check that how we can practice Ashtanga Yoga and what are the other qualifications required for Ashtanga Yoga. I'll be sharing the screen with you all. So Krishna starts speaking. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Anashrita Karma Phalam Karyam Karma Karoti Ya Sa Sannyasi Cha Yogi Cha Na Nirganir Cha Chakriyah. Somebody read the translation and the purport both. Yeah, sure.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said that one who is unattached to the fruit of his work and who works as he is obligated in the renounced order of life, he is the true mystic, and not who lights no fire and performs no duty. Purport: Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In this chapter, the Lord explains that the process of eightfold yoga system is a mean to control mind and the senses. However, this is very difficult for the people in general to perform, especially in the age of Kali. Although the eightfold yoga system is recommended in this chapter, the Lord emphasizes that the process of karma yoga or acting in Krishna consciousness is better. Everyone acts in this world to maintain his family and his paraphernalia, but no one is working without some self-interest and some personal gratification. So it is recommended or extended the criterion for perfection is to act in Krishna consciousness, not with a view to enjoying the fruit of work. To act in Krishna consciousness is the duty of every living entity because all are constitutionally part and parcel of the Supreme. The part of the body worked for the satisfaction of whole body. The limbs of the body don't act for self-satisfaction, but for the satisfaction of satisfaction of complete whole. Similarly, the living entity who acts for the satisfaction of supreme whole and not for personal satisfaction is the perfect sannyasi and the perfect yogi. The sannyasi sometimes artificially think that they have become liberated from the material duties and therefore they cease the perform Agnihotra Yajna for fire sacrifice, but actually they are self-interested because their goal is to become one with the impersonal Brahman. Such desire is a greater than any material desire, but it is not without self-interest. Similarly, the mystic yogi who practice yoga system with half uh, open eyes, seizing all material activities, desires some satisfaction for his personal self. A person, but a person acting in Krishna consciousness works for satisfaction of whole without self-interest, and a Krishna conscious go down.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
yeah. A Krishna conscious person, yeah. A Krishna conscious person has no desire for self-satisfaction. His criterion for success is the satisfaction of Krishna, and thus he is the perfect sannyasi and or the perfect yogi. Lord Chaitanya is the highest perfectional symbol of the renunciation prayers in this way. न धनम न जनम न सुंदरी कविता वा जगदीश कामे मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरे भवतात् भक्त हेतुकी त्वयि. So, Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor enjoy a beautiful woman, nor I want any number of followers. What I want only is the causeless mercy of your devotional service in my life, birth after birth.
yeah. So, if you see, he says that this karma yogi, he is performing his obligatory work for purification. But what he does is he stays detached from these worldly things. So when he says that anashrita karma phalam, one who does the work without taking ashray of any phalam. So, everybody in this world wants to work. People want to work and they need some motivation for, working. So, what is that motivation? So, the motivation is the fruit, what they get. And then they take ashray of that particular fruit. Like recently, we had the World Cup, right? So, the captain of this winning team in the World Cup says that it was his childhood dream to hold this World Cup. So, for him, this is the Ashritam Karma Phalam. So, one is taking shelter of the fruit of work. So, of course, BG, like Bhagavad Gita is not against doing things of this world. It is not against any achievements. But if, these outer achievements alone are our motivation, then we will not get that inner, you can say, inner spiritual development through, that outer achievement. And that will not necessarily take us even closer to Krishna. So here Krishna is talking about karma yogis. And a pure devotee may offer everything in Krishna's service, that is different, but a karma yogi's main thing is detaching oneself from the worldly things. So karma yogis, definition would be in the 5th chapter, he says that kayana manasa buddhaya kalevar indriyarapi yogina karma kurvanti sangam tyaktva shuddhaye. So when you say atma shuddhaye, a yogi is performing, a yogi is primarily working for purification. He is not working for any fruits or results or any phala, you can say. So Krishna is saying that what yogis have to do in the beginning is anashrita karma phalam, detachment from this fruitive activity. And then karyam karma karoti yah. This is what he's saying. So karyam means whatever is our prescribed duty. And understanding that, okay, this is my obligatory duty, I'm karma karoti, I'm doing this karma, I'm obliged to do this, I will do that. And then he's saying that sa sannyasi, such a person is a sannyasi. Cha yogi cha. So, such a person is a renunciate also and a yogi also. He's a sannyasi also and a yogi also. So, Krishna says that, I mean, of course, Krishna is using two words over here. He's using this sannyasi also and he's using yogi also. And interestingly, why is he using? Because such a person, if you remember in the 5th chapter, Krishna said that this sannyas path and the yoga path are two different paths, right? And even in the 3rd chapter, he has said that these two paths are different, the sannyas path and the yoga path. So, if you see in the 5th chapter where he says that sannyas is not equal to yoga. So Krishna says that sannyasas mahabaho dukham apnot tatha yoga yukrena brahma. And then he's saying that he in fact over there he talked about sannyas and yoga, and these two processes are distinct. So he said that both these processes, they what are they doing is they are ultimately leading to they ultimately leading to a different path of over there, of course. And then he's saying that sorry, he said over there that they both are leading to the same path, but one who is trying to practice sannyas alone without yoga, then what will happen? Then he will become dukhi. Dukham apta yogatah hai. He will be afflicted by distress. And he'll be afflicted by distress without engaging in bhakti. So, one who is practicing yoga, yoga yukta muner brahma. He's saying over there that na chirena adi gacchati. So, not after a long time, adi gacchati, or not after a long time, or soon such a person will be engaged in devotion and will attain perfection. So, that is why Krishna is talking over there about two processes. But now, essentially, he's saying the same thing. He's saying that sa sannyasi cha yogi cha. So, who is such a person who is a sannyasi and a yogi? So, till now, Krishna has used yogi, for those who are doing karma yoga. But who is a yogi? When we think about yogi, means the person who's doing yogasana, or generally when yoga is used alone, people mostly think about all those other yogas, other yoga poses as such, like who does ashtang yoga. So Krishna has not talked about ashtang yoga still now. अभी तक बोला नहीं है उन्होंने. So whenever he is using this word yoga, he used it even in the 3rd chapter, even in the 5th chapter, he's using it for prescribed duty. So through connection with that prescribed duty, one will be able to connect to the absolute truth. So now this he spoke in the 5th chapter. Specifically, if you go and refer to the 6th shloka, he spoke about this, like sannyas is not equal to yoga. But now in this particular shloka, he is saying that sannyas is equal to yoga, because Lord Krishna is saying over here that both sannyas and yoga are similar. Sannyas is pointing to this disconnection of this material world, and yoga is pointing, or it is it is pointing, or it is denoting the connection to the absolute truth. And that can be done in various ways, and uh, one such way is through doing your prescribed duty or your prescribed work. So then if somebody is doing it that way, then such a person is a sannyasi and a yogi. So Krishna is going to clarify how such a person is the same in the next works, but he over here is using that na nirganer na cha kriyah. So if you see the word ne agni, without agni or nor without performing duty. So he's saying that so who is a sannyasi? The person who who works, not that person who does not work and he's still not working. So Krishna, in two ways, he's saying that na cha kriya, and the person who does not do any kriya or any action. So such a person is not the actual yogi or sannyasi. And there are so many prescribed duties, but a grihastha has to do one prominent duty, and that is agni, to light fire, right? For cooking and for many other different, sacrificial fire also. Because grihasthas do yagya, and then yagya will give them some benefit as such. So, in Kali Yuga, we don't light this sacrificial fire. Instead, what we do is we chant this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Na cha kriya. It's not that somebody is not doing work. Instead, one is required to do some prescribed duty. And this prescribed duty involves lighting that fire so that a yajna can be performed. So even when I am cooking in my kitchen, or even if that proper yajna has been performed in my house, like sometimes we have a housewarming ceremony and we have a yajna, or even in the kitchen, I'm doing every day a yajna. What I'm doing is every day when I'm cooking, either I'm cooking dal or sabji or rice, what am I doing? I'm giving ahuti. I'm giving ahuti in that vessel, and that is being offered to Lord Vishnu. That bhoga has been offered to Lord Vishnu. So then that's how every day I'm performing yagya for the pleasure of Lord Vishnu. So in the third chapter, if you see, Krishna had said that one who does not do this yagya, because yagya is important, and Krishna is telling right in the beginning of this chapter itself only, that one should not give up yagya, and one should not give up lightning this fire in the name of sannyas or in the name of renunciation. So what is a perfect yogi according to Krishna, or even in the purport, if you see Srila Prabhupada is saying that these parts of the body are working, right? And uh, uh, for the satisfaction of the whole. And the limbs, if the limbs they do not if they do not act for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, then what happens is that he will get into the cycle of karma. But the parts of the body work for the satisfaction of the whole body. The limbs of the body do not act for self-satisfaction, but for the satisfaction of the complete whole. Similarly, the living entity who acts for the satisfaction of the supreme whole and not for personal satisfaction is the perfect sannyasi, the perfect yogi. So this is the definition of the perfect yogi. That if you see, if they ask, in the examination, I don't know what are the questions over there, because I've not seen the question bank as yet. But if they say that who is a perfect yogi, then that's your answer over here. So why? Because a perfect yogi is free from selfish desires. So freedom from selfish desires is actually sannyas. And desire for selfless service to Krishna is actually yoga, because you are trying to connect to the Supreme Lord. And that is how a person is a sannyasi also and a yogi also. So that is why Prabhupada is saying over here that the highest symbol of renunciation is na dhanam na janam na sundarim. And he's saying about that kavitam va jagdish kamame mama janmani janmani ishwari. So this is what actually people want wealth, people want beautiful women, they want to enjoy, and they want followers, they want sexual pleasures. So kavitam va jagadish kamaye. So when you say kavita, of course the word kavita, we have many girls named kavita, kavitam, but he's saying that kavita, kavita, kavitam. So in Sanskrit he's saying that he's referring to fame, praise, and learning. So these things people want, and these things are defined as success. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying that no, I don't want also these. This is the prayer that he is making. He's saying that no, Mama Janmani Janmani Ishwari. Birth after birth, what do I want? I only want भवताद भक्ति अहेतु की त्वयि. कौन सी भक्ति चाहिए? अहेतु की भक्ति चाहिए मुझे. He's talking about that I want selfless bhakti, unalloyed devotional service to the Supreme Lord. I want pure bhakti. So in one sense, the first part is talking about sannyas, that I don't want all these things, kavitam va jagdish kamaye. And if I don't want all these things, then what do I want? Something, there has to be some alternative which I want. So then I want bhavatad bhakti ahetuki. I want unconditional devotional service to the Supreme Lord. So sannyas means rejection and yoga means connection. So Mahaprabhu is saying that I always want to be connected with devotion. Janmani Ishwari. Even though if I have to go through many, many births, or I have to take many, many births or many lifetimes also, I want to be fixed in devotion. Bhavatad bhaktir ahetu ki tvai. Of course, this is not a Chaitanya Shishtastakam class, but just to explain this context of sannyas and yoga. So then he's saying that what is that nature of this devotion or bhakti? So ahetuki, unmotivated devotion. That means that this connection with the Lord, I don't want this to be conditional, because the Lord does this for me, I will do devotion to him. No. Instead, it is ahetuki, without any cause, without any selfish desire. That is actually selfless. So this is an example of you can say that one who is so sa sannyasa cha yoga cha. So one who is disconnected from the world and connected with the absolute truth. This is what he is saying in this particular shloka. So let's go to the next. What is he saying in the next shloka also? Then he's saying over here that just give me 1 minute. Have I missed anything? I want to just check up. Yeah. So I have not missed anything. Yam sannyasam iti prahur yogam tam vidhi pandava nahi asanyasat sankalpo yogi bhavati kaschana. Somebody read the translation and purport both.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Translation purport by His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. What is called renunciation is known to be the same as yoga or linking oneself with the Supreme. O son of Pandu, for one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification. Purport. Real sannyasa yoga or bhakti means that one should know his constitutional position with the living entity and act accordingly. The living entity has no separate independent identity. He is the marginal energy of the Supreme. When he is entrapped by material energy, he is conditioned. And when he is Krishna conscious or aware of the spiritual energy, then he is in his real and natural state of life. Therefore, when one is in complete knowledge, one ceases all material sense gratification or renounces all kinds of sense gratificatory activities. This is practiced by the yogis who restrain the senses for material attachment. But a person in Krishna consciousness has no opportunity to engage his senses in anything which is not for the purpose of Krishna. Therefore, a Krishna conscious person is simultaneously a sannyasi and a yogi. The purpose of knowledge and of restraining the senses, as prescribed in the jnana and yoga processes, is automatically served in Krishna consciousness. If one is unable to give up the activities of his selfish nature, then jnana and yoga are of no avail. The real aim is for a living entity to give up all selfish satisfaction and to be prepared to satisfy the Supreme. A Krishna conscious person has no desire for any kind of self-enjoyment. He is always engaged for the enjoyment of the Supreme. One who has no information of the Supreme must therefore be engaged in self-satisfaction, because no one can stand on the platform of inactivity. All purposes are perfectly served by the practice of Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much. So over here, Krishna is going to again explain Sa Sannyasa Cha Yoga Cha. So he's saying over here this that Yam Sannyasam Iti Prahur. So Yam Sannyasam Iti Prahur. So that which is known as Sannyasam and that which is known as Sannyasam is also known as yoga. Yam Sannyasam Iti Prahur Yogam Tam Vidhi Pandava. So he's saying that that is also known as yoga. So Krishna is saying that this yoga and this sannyas, they are what? They are the same. And then he is saying that what he has actually talked in the 5th chapter about yoga and sannyasa, there is similarity in that destination also, and Krishna is further also saying that there is a similarity in the content also. So he's saying that nahi asanyasat sankalpo. He's saying that if one does not give up this sankalpa of desire for this worldly enjoyment, and asannyasat means without giving up this worldly desire for worldly enjoyment, then one cannot be a yogi. Yogi bhavati kaschana. So he's saying that one cannot be a yogi unless one is giving up this desire for sense enjoyment. So Krishna is saying that how yoga and sannyas are the same. Actually, if you see, there cannot be yoga, or you can say that there cannot be authentic yoga. There cannot be a genuine connection with the Lord unless there is disconnection from this, worldly enjoyment. And because that is taking us away from the Lord. In sense gratification takes us away from the Lord. So, when we say that we wish to light a fire to remove this darkness, or when I switch on the light, then I try to remove the darkness. So we cannot remove the darkness unless and until we light a lamp, or we switch on the tube light. So when we are switching on the button for getting the tube light, then darkness will automatically go away from that room or from the heart. So that is why these two, sannyas and yoga, are connected. And sannyasa yoga, they are of course interconnected also, because if there is no sannyas, then there is not much of that real yoga or real connection also happening with that particular jiva. So if people are planning to practice spiritual life, then um, if that person is chanting Hare Krishna, but if the person is engaged in all these sensory activities, especially all immoral, sinful sense gratification, then he's not a genuine devotee. That person's devotion is just external, or you can say outward devotion. Of course, slowly chanting will definitely help him, and but if he's chanting sincerely, then that will lead him to detachment from sense gratification. Definitely, it may take a little more time for purification for different people at different levels also, but there will be a gradual progression towards this detachment, towards this direction of detachment that is there. So if genuinely we are chanting that Krishna, I really want to be attached to you, Krishna, I really want to detach myself from all the sense gratification which is pleasing my senses, then we progress. And when we are genuinely chanting that Krishna, my senses are only for your service, Rishikena Rishikesha Sevaya Bhakti Ruchate. So that time, then we slowly and gradually make progress. Currently, what is happening is that, of course, this is not for all, because there are pure devotees also. But genuinely, if somebody is trying that, I want to detach myself from unnecessarily worldly things or worldly pleasures, then Krishna will definitely help us. And Srila Prabhupada also is saying in this purport, saying that real sannyas or bhakti means that one should know his constitutional position as the living entity and act accordingly. The real aim is to give up that, selfish desires, or selfish satisfaction, and to satisfy the Supreme Lord. That is the real this. So, which means that we work not for our pleasure. Whatever activity I am doing, whether I'm doing my business, I'm actually I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, I'm a teacher, I'm a software engineer, whatever I'm doing, I am working for the pleasure of Krishna. And so that is why, then when I'm working for Krishna's pleasure, then sannyas and yoga are combined, because what is happening is you are not working for your pleasure. You are not working for satisfying your senses. Now you are working for satisfying Krishna's senses. And then that's how, when you detach, then you get attached. Without detachment, attachment is very difficult. And see, this is a very slowly gradual process. Slowly you detach, and slowly, slowly you get attached. Even in your lives, you see so many things you were attached to, right? But slowly, slowly, as you came to know that this is detrimental for my Krishna consciousness, you gave up those things. And what is favorable for your Krishna consciousness, you started accepting those things, right? Accepting, like you started doing austerity, waking up early in the morning at 3:30, going for Mangala Aarti, chanting your rounds sincerely. Slowly, slowly, what is happening? Detaching from sense gratification and attaching to the Supreme Lord. And that is called sannyas and then yoga. So first sannyas and then yoga. So the real definition, you can say sannyas means sannyas. When we say sannyas means, you detach yourself from sense gratification. Real sannyas is कि आपकी इंद्र तृप्ति से आप संन्यास ले लेते हो. और फिर आसक्ति किसमें डालते हो आप? आसक्ति जो अटैचमेंट है, वो अटैचमेंट डालोगे आप किसमें? कृष्णा में डालोगे, उनकी सेवा में डालोगे. दैट्स हाउ sannyasi yoga. And now in the third shloka, if you see, yeah. So in the third and the fourth shloka, he's going to speak about the two levels of Ashtanga Yoga. About the Yoga Aruksha, the beginning stage, and then the Yoga Arudha stage, the advanced stage. He's going to speak about these. In the third and the fourth shloka, completely connected, where you have Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan, and then Samadhi. So the 8 limbs of Ashtanga Yoga are being spoken in the third and the fourth shloka. Let's, dive into these two shlokas. Arukshormuneryogam karma karanamuchyate yogarudhasya tasyaiva kshama karanamuchyate. Somebody's mic is on. So, translation, please read the translation purport.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please read the translation.
Can I? Yeah. Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. For one who is neopathy in the eightfold yoga system, work is said to be the means, and for one who is already elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means. Purport. The process of linking oneself with the Supreme is called yoga. It may be compared to a ladder for attaining the topmost spiritual. Mataji, can you take
Yeah, Prabhu, you already.
spiritual? This ladder begins from the lowest material condition of the living entity and rises up to the perfect self-realization in pure spiritual life. According to the various elevation, different parts of the ladder are known by different names. But all in all, the complete ladder is called yoga and may be divided into 3 parts, namely Gnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. The beginning of the ladder is called Yoga Kurukshu
No, this
stage.
is Yoga Rurukshu stage.
Yoga Rurukshu stage. And the highest rug is called Yoga Ruda. Hare Krishna Mate. Okay. Concerning the eightfold yoga system, attempts in the beginning to enter into meditation through regulative principles of life and the practice of different sitting postures, which are more or less bodily exercises are concerned. fruitivity, material activities. All such activities lead to achieving perfect mental equilibrium to control the senses. When one is accomplished in the practice of meditation, he ceases all disturbing mental activities. A Krishna conscious person, however, is situated from the beginning on the platform of meditation because he always thinks of Krishna and being constantly engaged in the service of Krishna, he is considered to have ceased all material activities. Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for the
Hare
opportunity,
Krishna.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So he is saying over here, Arukshor Muner Yogam. The one who in the Prabhuji, please mute your mic, Rajamalu Prabhu. So one who is in the beginning stage of yoga, karma karanam uchyate. So karma is said to be, the cause of, one's progress. Ultimately, it is leading towards that spiritual advancement. And one advanced in yoga is yoga rudhasya tasyeva. So how is that indication given that samakaranam uchyate? Sama means inactivity. If you see the translation over here, cessation of all material activity, that is of course inactivity. And then he is saying that inactivity or calmness or cessation of these material activities, that is actually the evidence that this person is yoga rudhasya taseva. He is advancing. So Krishna is saying that yes, there is a stage when one will have to renounce the activities, but that is at a very advanced stage. And he's giving, a structure first. In Aruruksha stage of work itself, there is the beginning of advancement. And then there is this yoga, rudhasya, stage, where there will be cessation of work, and that will lead to advancement in Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada is saying that all such activities, they're leading to achieving that perfect, equilibrium in the mind, perfect mental equilibrium. Right, he's saying over here, to control the senses. Because if you see, mind control and detachment from sense objects, they are the requirements to come to this yoga ruda stage. So of course Krishna will speak about mind control in the 5th shloka. And so first he's saying that we regulate our physical activities, that is yama means do's and don'ts, regulations are there. Then is niyama, the rules or the prescription that is being given. And then he's saying that asana, asana means all these bodily exercises that are there. And then he's saying pranayam, breathing exercise. So when I generally always say pranayam and breathing exercise, they will calm the mind. And these can be practiced even while someone is in this world and is engaged in the activities of this world. So, but if one goes to that pratyahar stage, where he is withdrawing all the senses from the sense objects, then one cannot live in this world. Then he renounces the world and focuses on turning inwards. अभी हमारा focus कहाँ है? Outwards है. Our focus is outwards. But when he is practicing yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, and then pratyahar, then at that point of time he is withdrawing the senses from the sense objects and he is turning inwards. So then there will be dharana, dhyan, samadhi, because dharana is actually fixing the mind on the Lord's form completely. And dhyana is actually you go more deeper into the meditation, more deeper into you meditate on the limbs of the Lord. You meditate on the lotus feet, you meditate on the thighs, you meditate on the knees, you meditate on the navel, you meditate on the chest, the arms, the beautiful face of the Supreme Lord. Of course, that is the four-handed Vishnu form. And then samadhi is like complete absorption. You are not really aware of what is happening outside in the world. And then these are the progressive stages in which one goes very much inward, and ultimately he can perceive the super soul in the heart. In his own heart, he can perceive the super soul. So in the initial stages, one can practice doing karma. Then the initial 4 levels, are Aruksha stage, and the next 4 levels, the person is rising to the Arudha stage. So if you see this first and the second shloka, you can say that Krishna is, Krishna's focus is on the person, and the same person is sannyasi and the yogi, and he's not taking shelter of that work. Yeah, so this is like an affirmative assertion, and wherein this person, he's not taking the fruits of the work, neither he has even ceased to work. He stopped working. It's not that also that he stopped working, and uh, and then he is saying that just give me 1 minute. And then he's saying that Krishna is focusing on that particular path, the authentic sannyas and the authentic yoga path. Yoga is requiring, wherein one has to give up the desire for enjoyment. And in this way, by giving up, enjoyment, then he can progress to that particular path. So Krishna is saying that how yoga and sannyas are identical. He's saying that firstly, Aruksha stage, Yam, Niyam, Asana and Pranayam. And then he's talking about Yoga Ruda stage, which is Pratyahar, Dhyana, Dharana and Samadhi. So all these 8 stages of Ashtanga Yoga, or in the sense that these are the 8 rules applicable for this Ashtanga Yoga. So when you say about Aruksha stage, Yam and Niyam, are rules and regulations or prohibitions that are there for disciplining ourselves, for individual discipline. So when I say Yama, then that is for my individual discipline, that don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. But when I say Niyam, then that is for my spiritual discipline. Like, do means, okay, chant your rounds, read Bhagavad Gita, and offer food to the Lord, do book distribution, do preaching. This is for my spiritual disciplining, right? So they are referred to as do's and don't. Do this and don't do that. So Yam Niyam, sometimes it is referring to how to regulate ourselves individually and how to regulate ourselves even collectively also. So both the ways, the important point is that we regulate ourselves. And that is why if you see Srila Prabhupada in the beginning, he has given us, so many do's and so many don'ts. So many don'ts he has given us in the form of no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex. He's given us those don'ts. And do's he has given us in the form of chanting, reading, preaching, doing some practical services. So so the yogi in this particular asana, he's sitting in a particular posture, and this helps the body to bring consciousness inward. So in Ashtanga Yoga, the posture is very important. And pranayam is also for that same purpose. We regulate our breathing to calm the mind, at the time of, agitation, the mind keeps on running here and there. And when you are agitated, then your breath also becomes very faster. So when we slow down our breath, the mind becomes calm. So the purpose of regulating the breath is to calm the mind down. And I always say that pranayam will calm your mind down, but it will not purify you. Krishna consciousness will purify. Chanting Hare Krishna will purify the mind. So, this was about the Aruksha stage. Now, in the Yoga Ruda stage, the next 4 steps are there, where Pratyahar means food, and Pratya means, Pratya means actually opposite. So, opposite to the food, that implies detaching the senses from that object. So the food for the mind, the food for the stomach. So the eyes wish to see good looking objects. The tongue wants to taste delicious food. The ear wants to hear some melodious sound. So all the senses, they have their own ahar or food. They have their own hunger for that pleasure with that particular corresponding sense. So pratyahar is calling upon to stop feeding the senses. So feeding the senses means, you withdraw the senses from that sense object. And when you say feeding, what is the opposite of feeding? If I'm feeding something and I stop feeding, then what is that? It's called as starving. So starve the senses. So at that pratyahar stage, a person goes to a very secluded place to the forest, where there is no sense gratification available, no gadgets, no laptops, and no beautiful women, and no cinema halls, and nothing. And of course, for us, forest will be Vrindavan, Mayapur, Jagannath Puri. Recently, we went to all these places. So gradually, the person, what he's doing is he's turning inwards, and he starts meditating on the inner truth, and he focuses on the inner world, and he's cutting off all the ties of the outer world, and that is called the Yoga Rudha stage. So dharana, dhyan, and samadhi, these are the Yoga Rudha stage. Of course, these will be discussed in more details later. I won't be discussing right now because I'm just focusing on this particular purport and this text. So Krishna is saying that when one is the Yoga Rudha stage, they will engage with the external world, but after that one will stop working in the external world and start focusing on the inner involvement. So your outer activities will stop. However, the yogi in jungle will do some activity like eating, bathing, and some basic necessities he has to do for himself. So giving up work means that his sorry, what I was supposed to say. So giving up work implies not doing duties based on varnashram system. For example, if a person is a brahmana, he will do yagna and part pathan and everything. Okay, the person will not interact with the world. So the focus is more on renouncing the world, so that he can connect with the absolute truth. He's not going to give up his prescribed duty, but he will go more inwards. This is what he's saying in this particular shloka. Let's go to the next shloka. So over here, this is more about Yoga Rudha stage, saying that यदा हि नेन्द्रियार्थेषु न कर्मस अनुसज्जते सर्वसंकल्प संन्यासी योगरूढ़ तदोच्यते. Somebody read the translation and the purport both.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, you can read.
May I do it?
Yes.
Translation and Prabhupada is divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. A person is said to be elevated in yoga when, having renounced on material desires, he neither acts for sense gratification nor in fruitive activities. Purport, Jai Srila Prabhupada. When a person is fully engaged in a transcendental loving service of the Lord, he is pleased in himself, and thus he is no longer engaged in sense gratification or in fruitive activities. Otherwise, one must be engaged in sense gratification, since one cannot live without engagement. Without Krishna consciousness, one must be always seeking self-centered or extended selfish activities. But a Krishna conscious person can do everything for the satisfaction of Krishna and thereby be perfectly detached from sense gratification. One who has no such realization must mechanically try to escape material desires before being elevated to the top rung of the yoga ladder. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu. So when one is completely purified of material desires, he can give up Nishkam Karma Yoga and practice Ashtanga Yoga exclusively. Then one is neither acts for sense gratification nor he engages in this fruitive activities. And that is why then he is ready, or that is actually the stage of dhyana. So what he is saying over here is that when he's saying that yoga rudhast uchyate taduchyate, he's saying that arudha tad uchyate. It is said that when a person is situated in yoga, what will happen? There are three characters that are there. Yada hi nindriyartheshu. Yada hi nindriyartheshu means that one was engaged in sense gratification. Na karmasva anusajjate. So, when I'm saying that na karmasva anusajjate, one does not engage in fruitive activities. So, one who is engaged in sense gratification, he does not engage in fruitive activities, which will eventually lead him to sense gratification. So, there is this direct sense gratification when we enjoy sense object, and the second is that if we pursue fruitive activities, which will in turn provide us sense gratification. एक होता है कि डायरेक्ट हम लोग सेंसेस के साथ सेंस ग्रेटिफिकेशन करें, लेकिन अगर हम परस्यू करते हैं, हम इच्छा करते हैं, हम कर्म ही इसीलिए करते हैं ताकि मैं और इंद्र तृप्ति करूंगा. So we pursue fruitive activities which will in turn provide us sense gratification. So if one is situated in yoga, not only he gives up these two activities, direct sense gratification or pursuing for sense gratification. One only gives up internally the desire for sense gratification. I have to internally give up this. So, a very serious stage is of renunciation. Then, ये दो चीजें करके ना मैं बहुत सीरियस हूँ सेंस ग्रेटिफिकेशन को गिव अप करने के लिए, और फिर मैं हूँ उस स्टेज पे जहां पे मैं संन्यास स्टेज पे हूँ कि मैं डायरेक्टली डिटैच हो रही हूँ. सॉरी, just went into Hindi mode. I am directly detaching myself and attaching myself to Krishna. So then that person is Sarva Sankalpa Sannyasi. So person at such stage of consciousness is completely situated in this Yoga Rudha Taduchyate stage. And if you see, Yoga Rudha Taduchyate stage is that he is completely at an elevated stage in yoga. So in this particular shloka, this fourth shloka, Krishna is telling that there are three give me 1 minute. There are three stages there are three characteristics of this yoga rudha. He's saying that na indriya artheshu, not engaging in sense gratification, is the first. And then he's saying that na karmasu anusajjate, not even pursuing for sense gratification. And then he's saying that sarva sankalpa sannyasi yoga ruda saduchyate. So his sarva sankalpa means not even desiring for sense gratification. Three characteristics he's saying in this. Na indriya tishu means what? Not engaging in, not even pursuing it, and not even desiring for sense gratification. So that is, these three characteristics of this yoga ruda stage. Now, very interestingly, if you see in the next shloka, and the next shloka is such a shloka where uh, you know uh, hmm, pages and pages can be spoken, and hours can be spent on how to control the mind. The next topic is on that only, that how to control the mind, and how Krishna is saying that how in the next two shlokas, in fact, but the fifth shloka is the most important shloka. So he's saying that how mind is both friend also and enemy also. You know how uh, mm, how when you purify the mind, actually it is the inner empowerment, and it will help us to sustain. And we'll see, of course, what are the functions of the mind also. Let's dive into this shloka, saying that uh, उद्धरे उद्धरेदात्मनां नात्मनाम् अवसाद्यतेत् आत्मेव हि आत्मनो बन्धुर आत्मेरिपुर आत्मना. So many times the word atma is used, but the word atmana, or it is used actually as mind. So he's saying that read the translation and purport, then we'll just explain.
Hare Krishna Mataji, can I read?
Yeah, sure. Yes, read it.
Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada teacher. One must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. Purport. The word Atma denotes body, mind, and soul, depending upon different circumstances. In the yoga system, the mind and the conditioned soul are especially important. Since the mind is the central point of yoga practice, Atma refers here to the mind. The purpose of yoga system is to control the mind and to draw it away from attachment to sense objects. It is stressed herein that Mataji, it is stressed herein that the mind must be so trained that it can deliver the conditioned soul from the mire of nuisance. In material existence, one is subjected to the influence of the mind and the senses. In fact, the pure soul is entangled in the material world because the mind is involved with the false ego, which desires to lord it over material nature. Therefore, the mind should be trained so that it will not be attracted by the glitter of material nature, and in this way the conditioned soul may be saved. One should not degrade oneself by attraction to sense objects. The more one is attracted by sense objects, the more one becomes entangled in existence. The best way to entangle oneself is to always engage the mind in Krishna consciousness. The word he is used for emphasizing this point. That means that one must do this. It is also said, Ma inusya karanam moksho bandhaya vishayasango mukte nirvishayam manaha. For man, mind is the cause of bondage, and the mind is the cause of liberation. Mind absorbed in sense objects is the cause of bondage, and mind detached from the sense objects is the cause of liberation. Amrit Bindu Upanishad 2. Therefore, the mind which is always engaged in Krishna consciousness is the cause of supreme liberation. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So see, if you see, so much of mystery is actually associated with the mind. And if you see this mind, where he's saying that udharet atmana atmanam, one must deliver himself. Deliver himself means what? Deliver the soul. By what? By the mind. And na atmanam avasyadet, one should not degrade himself. Degrade himself means he should not act in such a way where his senses get distracted. If his senses get distracted, the mind also gets distracted, because both are connected. And then atmeva hi atmano bandhor. So the control mind is the friend of the soul. And atmeva ripur atmana. Ripur means, the uncontrolled mind is the enemy of the soul. So he is saying over here that this mind can be the friend also, the mind can be the enemy also. And that is why Bhagavad Gita is teaching us there is a 3 level, you can say, this for the self or for the mind, where you are at a soul level also, you're at the body level also, and the mind becomes an instrument. So mind is actually supposed to do 2 things, that are essential for our functioning. And it can also engage in the other 2 activities that are against our interests. So the mind, so you can say that there'll be 4 features of the mind. One is like the mind could be the transmitter, because the mind acts as the route through which our consciousness emerges from the soul, and it is a natural energy, and it passes through the mind to the body, and then to the senses, and then the outer world, you can say. So the mind takes in all that sensory stimuli from that outer world, and it is passing to the soul. It passes that to the soul, and then it is enabling us to perceive और महसूस करवा रहा है वो आसपास की चीजें. So like a pilot, he's operating, okay, on like an autopilot, when there is no visibility while flying that aircraft, and this hardware and the software combination of this airplane is assisting this pilot in seeing. So even the soul in this material consciousness is covered by the material body and the mind, and it is seeing through the perception of what is happening at that level of the senses, and it is acting through the transmission occurring through that mind. So the mind is the transmitter, wo help kar raha hai. Then the mind is even the processor, because it is processing also many things what you're taking. So in this processing role, the mind helps us make the sense of that sensory information that is coming from that outer world. By you are combining with that past knowledge. So what you are seeing and what you're grasping, then you're connecting with your past knowledge. And then this enables us to bring our previous experiences to our present, and it is helping us to understand what is my situation, and then I'm able to improve my responses to those processes. So these are, but the mind sometimes can malfunction also. Malfunction मतलब क्या कि वो थोड़ा टेढ़ा भी चल सकता है. So what will the mind do? The mind will distract. It acts as a distractor. The mind will distract us when it is wandering off anywhere, and anywhere and everywhere, you can say. And it will distract us from our current activity. Abhi jo main activity kar rahi hu, like if I'm chanting right now, it is distracting me. And then what happens? Then when the mind distracts us, then even our consciousness gets split between the mind and the body. Meri jo consciousness hai. So depending on the extent of this split, then either we may be slightly aware of our physical surroundings, or we will be completely unaware of our surrounding, or we'll be oblivious to them, and we might become lost in the thoughts. Like for example, if you see in chanting, okay, so when you're chanting and then your thoughts go somewhere, you completely forget where you are. You forget that you're sitting in the temple and you're chanting. You forget that you have beads in your hands and you are chanting. You become completely absorbed. And sitting in India or in USA or in, Bahrain or in Australia, wherever you are, you reach to, far off distance places. The mind can travel. So this is a distractor also. And then the mind is the distorter also. The mind can distort our consciousness by comparing it to the past experiences and impressions with the present perceptions. And it will lead to an inaccurate sense of what is happening in the present. So like, uh, if I was hurt by somebody in the past, right, and a slight let's take this example that for example, there was a very hefty body person and he hurt me in the past. Now what happens is that if a similar person, he comes in front of me in the present, then what happens is that it might trigger me for okay, fight or flight. Oh, last time such a person had just hurt me. Now what I'll do, either fight or flight response will be there. And in fact, that particular person who's a heavy body person in the present tense who's there, he has no intentions of hurting me at all. He's like a gentle person, but still I will be in that mode of fight or flight. So understanding how the mind functions is very important to bring about peace and its potential for our own benefit, and preventing the mind from working against us. So that is why it is saying that the mind can be the friend also, and mind can be the enemy also. So when the mind is functioning as the transmitter and the processor of consciousness, it works for us. But when it acts as a distractor and a distorter of consciousness, the mind will definitely work against us. So one is the deliverer and one is the distractor. So then what will I do with the mind then? How can I have a mindfulness mind? So we become aware of our actions. So awareness is to cultivate the habit of becoming observers of ourselves. I'm observing myself on a daily basis. And when you observe, or when you journal also, generally we journal at night. Like I journal at night. Whatever is happening in the daytime, I generally journal at the end of the day that, okay, this all happened with me, and this all good happened with me, and this all bad happened with me, and what can I learn from the bad, and what can I learn from the good, and what can I even enhance myself by whatever good has happened to me, and how can I perceive it as a mercy of Krishna that this good has happened to me, how I can see the hand of Guru and Krishna in that particular act that has happened to me, the good that has happened to me. So so in this way, the Gita is actually helping us to look at ourselves from that perspective of being a non-attached observer. You observe, you're not attached, but you're observing yourself on a daily basis. And then also it is helping me to become aware of my intentions. So when we become aware of our actions, because when we become aware that our actions are not aligned with our intentions, this awareness will prompt us some introspection. That, see, my intention was to do something good, but my action is not going in that way. My intention is to chant properly, but my action is not going in that direction. My intention is to chant very sincerely, but what is my action doing? So it will give us introspection. So we examine our intentions to assess how strong and sound they actually are. And then we learn to distinguish between our intentions, intention that we really speak out. Okay, my intention is this. And then the serious intentions that we have. And then these serious intentions that we really have are actually our treasure. अब देखो, आप अपनी intentions लिख लो आज. You just write your intentions, whatever, good or bad. Maybe you can make 2 columns also. Okay, this is my good intention and this is my bad intention. Okay, so good intention, then bad intention. And you can start working upon that. Okay, these are my bad intentions. Okay, I have this, thing, this bad intention. And how will I work upon this? So then what will happen is that you have a constructive bridge gap between the actions and the intentions. So when we are bridging this gap, first by, aligning our externals with our internals, and secondly by aligning our internals with our externals. So, like, for example, take a scenario that on those occasions when we recognize that, our actions are neither beneficial for us or they are not even enjoyable, we may decide to let them go. ठीक है भाई, जाने दो. Like if I'm watching a TV and I'm mindlessly consuming some burger or chips or something, so without even, tasting or enjoying it. So, considering so many calories that I'm consuming, or or what impact it will have on that consumption. Like, I'll put on weight and I will lose on my health, and, I'll have a heart disease and I'll have a mind disease or whatever it is. So if we just pause, briefly, we will become more self-aware, which, can, tell us to stop eating, and at least, it will tell us to go to a healthier food, to eat millets, or to eat something which is fiber filled and which is full of proteins. So, that is the first scenario. Second scenario, we can say that wherein we are aligning our internals with our externals. So, like, for example, I want to go from, from my place over here where I'm in Katraj Kondwa, and I want to go to the next end of the city, that is Hinjewadi. Okay. So, but, along the way, I noticed, a very nice, beautiful, green park where, that is there. But I'm overlooking. So, of course, on my way, there is a nice, beautiful park coming. But what happens is I don't see that park and I'm overlooking that park because I'm in a great hurry to reach to that place. So, when I'm contemplating, I may recognize that my next engagement is not so important or urgent, and which is, which is forbidding me from, investing a very few moments to this, beautiful parks, serenity and beauty. So, Gita is actually telling us to become mindful. To become mindful, and it is telling us, it is in fact asking us to choose a prudent course of action, which is helping us to avoid that self degradation, and it is telling us to uh, gain a positive self transformation. So that is why mindfulness is helping us to become aware of what we actually are doing, contemplating on what we actually want to be doing, and bridging that gap between the externals and the internals. So that's how the mind becomes the controlled mind becomes the friend, and the uncontrolled mind becomes the enemy of the soul. So just let's look at the next shloka. So he's saying that Bandhur atmanastasya yena atmina atmana jita anatmanastu shatrutve varte to atmeva shatruvat. Please read this translation and purport.
Anna Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, sure.
Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. For him who has conquered the mind is the best of friend. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. Purport. The purpose of practicing eightfold yoga is to be control the mind in order to make it a friend in discharging the human mission. Unless the mind is controlled, the practice of yoga for show is simply a waste of time. One who cannot control his mind lives always with greatest enemy, and thus his life and its mission are spoiled. The constitutional position of the living entity is to carry out the order of the superior. As long as one's mind remains an unconquered enemy, one has to serve the detections, detections of the lust, anger, avarice, illusion, etc. But when the mind is conquered, one voluntarily agrees to abide by the dictation of the. Can I please, man? Can you please dictation? Yeah, dictation of us. But when the mind is conquered, one voluntarily agrees to abide by the dictation of the personality of Godhead, who is situated within the heart of everyone as Paramatma. Real yoga practice entails meeting the Paramatma within the heart and then following his dictation. For one who takes to Krishna consciousness directly, perfect surrender to the dictation of the Lord follows automatically. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So what he's saying over here is that Bandhur Atmanas Tasaiva and Yena Atmaneva Jita. He's saying that the mind is the best of the friends. And for whom is the best of the friends? Yena Atmana Jita, जिसने जीत लिया है, one who has conquered the mind, for him that mind is the best friend. And anatmanastu shatrutve varte the atmaneva shatrutvat. So for one who has failed to conquer the mind, then mind becomes the greatest enemy. So, like, when I'm saying mindfulness, and when you are mindful, then you are nourishing yourself. So sometimes the mind misdirects you also. So in that case, like suppose we are walking towards a destination, and some passerby, he is suggesting us we go, somewhere else. I'm going towards Hinjewadi, but somebody is saying that no, let's go to Tulsi Bagh. Okay, some area in Pune. Okay, so just because he's suggesting that please go to Tulsi Bagh, I won't change my course, right? So, for example, I'm going towards Golok Vrindavan. My destination is Golok Vrindavan. And somebody say, okay, please go to Swargaloka for some time and let's see over there. So I won't change my course. I'll be very fixed. So that's what, sometimes people do often in the inner world also, where the suggested is our own mind. The mind is saying that, okay, let's chant. And, so when the soul is saying let's chant, the mind is saying that, okay, let's watch TV, or let's talk to this let's talk to this friend while phoning and all. So uh, 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 the mind is suggesting us different things. So suppose I'm planning to even study the Bhagavad Gita for an hour, and yet a few minutes later my mind is suggesting that, okay, let me check what is my WhatsApp updates or Facebook updates or Twitter and all. And then while watching that and scrolling up and down, that hour is lost in social media. So, uh, alerting us to the mind's capacity to misdirect. And that is why Krishna is telling us to avoid being degraded by our mind. Krishna is saying that don't degrade yourself with the mind. So then, it is very important to protect ourselves from that misdirection. And, there could be three ways where we can, just protect ourselves from being misdirected by the mind. Like, with one would could be that you can articulate yourself, or for misdirecting us, the mind is it deactivates our intelligence, in fact. So to protect ourselves, we need to reactivate our intelligence, and using proper words to dictate the mind or to request the mind. See, I'm you can just request the mind also. Let's see, by I'm going to chant for 2 hours, and I'm just going to chant for the pleasure of the Lord. So mind, please don't disturb me. Or for the next 1 hour, I'm going to read the Bhagavad Gita. So that effort in articulating it stimulates our intelligence. Every day, if you're feeding, you're telling the mind, see, now I want to, or even somebody wants to actually chant the next day morning also nicely. So at night only he can articulate, and he can tell the mind, let's see, I want to chant tomorrow very seriously. Tomorrow is Ekadashi, and it's a very nice day for me, and it's the best day, for chanting. More mercy, I'll be getting while if I focusly chant. Then that's how, the mind listens to us. So, and then you attribute also. So once I have become, once I become an articulated this particular thought, then uh, we can use whatever guidance we are getting from the Gita, the intelligence that we are getting, to attribute that thought to our mind. So instead of saying that, see, I'm about to read some WhatsApp messages or Twitter or Facebook post, I must say that my mind is saying that I should read the WhatsApp page or the Facebook page. And then, when I'm attributing my thoughts to the mind, then, or when I'm saying that, okay, I want to chant the next 2 hours, I want to chant very sincerely, then we are creating a very vital inner distance between, us and that particular activity, and then it becomes very easy to treat that mind as a person different from ourselves. And then we analyze also, we evaluate the mind's ideas on merit. We say that as we say, as we might the ideas of a passerby, like he's saying that okay, you go to Tulsi Bagh, but we will recognize that okay, going to Tulsi Bagh is not worth for me, going to Swargaloka is not worth for me, है ना? That idea is actually not that great. Instead, I'll reject that idea and go to Goloka. Okay. So whenever its ideas have merit, then we will change the course, of course. Like I was going to Swargaloka, but somebody say that no, Goloka is more better than Swargaloka, then I will change my course also. That okay, this is temporary. So going to Swargaloka is still temporary, but going to Goloka and pleasing the Lord is actually permanent activity for me. So to avoid being misdirected by our mind, we learn to articulate our thoughts, we learn to attribute them and analyze them also. And we try to go into inner self more when we are analyzing also. And when we analyze, then we will be able to even differentiate also that what is good and what is bad between that particular suggestion that has been given to us. So that is why he's saying that even in the fifth shloka, he said that one must deliver himself with the help of mind. The mind is the deliverer and not degrade himself. So this is what he's saying in this particular shloka. Let's go to the next. A lot can be spoken actually, if you see that, because sometimes the mind now goes into a very negative mode. And when that mind goes into a negative mode, we need to design it. We need to redesign it. Like, you have your house. There are certain, things you need to adjust. What do? You redesign. So, like if I'm trapped somewhere, then I'll call somebody for help, who is constantly drawing my attention to many other things also. And when I am troubled by so many thoughts and so many images, then I might try to even replace those images. And I might try to call somebody for help if I am, if I'm confused. So in our inner world, our mind often keeps highlighting our negative memories. There are so many people, if you see, they'll keep on cribbing about the past. मेरे साथ ऐसा हुआ, मेरे साथ वैसा हुआ, मेरे साथ ये हुआ, मेरे साथ वो हुआ, उसने मुझे ऐसा किया, उसने मुझे वैसा किया. That person will keep on nagging about the past and that negative memory. And what we can do is we can try to replace those memories. We also need to deal with the mind effectively if we are to maintain that positivity and our sanity also. If you see, I can't change my past. Whatever has happened with me in my past, whoever has done something bad with me, or whoever has done something really worse with me, I really cannot change. And there is no point in cribbing about or, just worrying on that particular past incidents, maybe whatever has happened. So what we can do is, there are, I had heard in one that there are two strategies you can use with the mind. So one is you negotiate with the mind. हम लोग negotiate करते हैं ना. In companies also we negotiate. So the mind is acting as an enemy when I'm thinking about those past negative activities or whatever has happened with me. So what I do is that I am negotiating. So though the mind is really not our enemy, it can be my friend also. So in the sixth shloka, this Bhagavad Gita is saying that you appreciate the mind's potential goodness. The mind, the potential of the mind is to negotiate. And negotiate for what? Goodness. So we can negotiate with it. You can explain how its interests and our interests are not mutually exclusive. माइंड को समझा सकते हैं कि अरे छोड़ो अभी पास्ट का, क्या उस पे रोना, वो व्यक्ति कहाँ है, तुम कहाँ हो, तुम अभी कहाँ हो, आप ये सोच सकते हो. And it is Gita is sharing that wisdom with us. It is empowering us with those empowering insights, and it is helping, because when I'm saying that when I am actually when I am negotiating with my mind, that forget about what is happening, what has happened with you right now. You are in the present tense. That person is no longer with you over here and in the present tense. You just be in your present tense and stop. Because sometimes some people think, because of that person my life became a hell, because of that person my life became horrible. But if you see, we ourselves are responsible for our own karmas. That person is just an instrument sent by the Lord, and he is helping you to cut those karmas. If that person does not come into your life and help you cut your karmas, you cannot go back home, back to Godhead. So that person is helping you to go back home, because sometimes what happens is that we don't go straight away to Krishna. We have to, बोलते हैं ना, बहुत लथाड़े मिलने के बाद हम भगवान के पास जाते हैं. A lot of sticks and whacking we need, or we need a checkmate. उसको हिंदी में बोलते हैं चारों खाने चित कर दो. When you are checkmated, then you will surrender to Krishna. You'll start surrendering to Krishna. So the Bhagavad Gita is sharing that empowering insight and practices that is anchoring us in our spiritual activity, and it is strengthening us to negotiate. And if we negotiate without a spiritual foundation, then whatever communication we are doing with our mind, it will not have any effect. But if I am spiritually anchored in my spirituality, if I am completely if I'm completely fixed, right, then we can ensure that this mind will let us focus on things that are important for us, and then we can go a very long way. And those promptings that are there, which is against us, they aren't too much of value and purpose for us. Mind keeps on prompting you. तेरे साथ ऐसा हुआ, तेरे साथ वैसे हुआ, तेरे साथ ये हुआ, तेरे साथ वो हुआ. This happened to you, that happened to you. But then what you do, you negotiate with your mind. And the second is you neglect also. Sometimes, our mind just refuses to listen to the reason, or, it makes demands about things that are not negotiable for us. So at such times, what we can, do is we can try to absorb ourselves in some important activities, and we turn away that, mind, from those activities. And because, what is happening is those activities are weakening us. And if we starve the mind, with that attention, then, we will come to that negotiable stand. So neglecting the mind is also very important. I should learn to neglect the mind. Mind bolta hai ye kar, chhodna yaar, leave it. I don't want to listen. I want to chant. The mind will say that, oh, of course, the mind while chanting disturbs a lot. The mind will say that, oh, wow, such a nice, beautiful, girl or a boy. You just neglect the mind. Beautiful is Krishna and Radha. Learn to keep on neglecting the mind. Right now, important is my chanting. So, for dealing with the mind's negatives, we should anchor ourselves to spirituality and learn how to, learn when to negotiate with that mind and when to neglect that mind. Mind के साथ negotiate करो. देख भाई अभी ना मैं chanting कर रहा हूँ. I'm chanting. 2 hours I'm in chanting. For 2 hours, please don't disturb me. इतना कर सकते हो क्या आप? Okay, ठीक है, कर सकते हैं. For 2 hours, don't disturb. So then, what you're doing when you're negotiating, you're neglecting also. Neglecting Facebook, neglecting WhatsApp, neglecting many other things also. So, where we need to see that where my mind can get to go a long way with me, which are the areas where I can take my mind a long way with me, like reading Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam or distributing books or, cooking for the Supreme Lord or making jewelry or, dressing, DD dressing I can do. And, find out those spiritual resources that can empower me for my inner negotiation with the mind. You can find many, but to start with that one thing you can start, that one spiritual resource. It could be chanting, it could be preaching, it could be, washing pots, it could be DT dressing, anything. And we could find out which are those activities which when I'm doing, I'm really absorbed, that can help me neglect my mind. Like sometimes, like for me, the most absorbing activity is reading Bhagavatam. So I become very absorbed while reading Bhagavatam. And for me, what is that spiritual resource which is empowering me for my inner negotiation? Like when I'm reading Bhagavatam, of course, there will be many distractions and all. So what is that spiritual resource? For me, the Bhagavatam time is my time with Prabhupada. That focused time is with Prabhupada, where I'm actually having a conversation with Prabhupada. Okay, Prabhupada, I did not understand this. What do you mean by this? Please help me to explain this. Then again reread it, again reread it, again reread it. So that's become my spiritual resource. And then where can my mind go away? Then I keep those phone away and everything away from you. So early morning hours, the time between 2 to 4, there are no distractions. The mind also becomes very cool and calm. So 2 to 4, when you wake up in the morning and you chant, and most of the devotees, they do this. When you chant in those those hours, then the mind is completely focused, it's completely absorbed, and it helps you because in those hours, there is no question only of neglecting the mind or something coming and then you neglect. No, that is like a Satogun time, and it helps you to focus completely on reading the Bhagavatam. And then how will I apply it into my life, and how will I bring this reality into my life? For example, if I'm reading about Prahlad Maharaj, what am I getting? What are the lessons that I'm learning from Prahlad Maharaj's reversals? Or what am I learning from Dhruva Maharaj's reversals? What lessons am I learning? So if I'm reading Dhruva Maharaj's conversation with his mother, so what are the lessons can I take from the mother-son conversations? And how can good advices also from people can turn your life completely? Like Suniti had advised Dhruv Maharaj, and his life completely changed by that good advice. And he took also that advice from his mother. Sometimes we don't take good advices and then we land up into something wrong. So one of those good advices that I will, take These are the things, these things, these kind of things will come only in the morning time. But in the rush hours where, Rajagun and Tamagun become prominent, and these thoughts will not arise at that. So we need to see that what are my spiritual resources that will empower me? What are my, absorbing activities that will help me to neglect my mind? Of course, a lot can be spoken, but primarily we can see that what will help my mind to get controlled. Coming to the next, okay, so what I'll do is I'll just stop at this particular section because there's an important section coming up from the 7th shloka, symptoms of a person in yoga ruda stage. So from 7th, 8th, and 9th, what are the symptoms of this particular person who is in the yoga ruda stage? And then we'll have the stages of Ashtanga yoga. Maybe the stages of Ashtanga yoga we might just rush through because we have spoken a lot about the stages of Ashtanga yoga in the beginning only. And I think I have 45 stages. So how we divide it? 1, 2 classes, 2 classes, and I'll take maximum 4 classes for this chapter. 4 classes. So I actually wanted to take a poll. Okay, there are very less people for the poll because I was thinking that Saturdays go, 2 times if I take a class, then I complete it in 2 Saturdays. And then the rest of the whole month is there for examination time. Examination time we might keep somewhere in the mid of Jan or end of Jan somewhere. So you all get.
Mataji, can we keep it end of Jan?
Yeah. That will depend on how much I want to give 1 full month for you all for examinations. Because the syllabus is a little vast, and going through that whole syllabus will at least take, a month or so. And I'm sure you all must have, definitely prepared in these times for question answers. Ab tak te aapke question answers tayar ho jane chahiye the. Plus your
Yes,
OBs are there and shloka tests are there and so many other things are there. Right? So next Saturday, can we do this? Maybe even 1 hour extra if I get, then I can stretch.
Mataji, today afternoon we can have a class.
Please,
Like how we had last time.
today afternoon is possible for you all.
Yes, Mataji, can you kindly tell the time frame, Mataji?
Prabhuji, what time is comfortable for you all? You tell me, then I will accordingly tell you all. 2 to 4 is okay? After lunch?
Okay, Mataji. Okay, Mataji.
Kindly make it because I have some temple engagement, book distribution going on. So you can shift it to 3 to 5 is okay with me.
3 to 5 is not possible for me because 4 o'clock is my tuition timings. So 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock I take tuitions, Prabhuji. Home tuitions. Of course, students come at my home. I don't have to go anywhere. But then we can do it something like that, 2:30 to 4. 1.5 hour is also still okay for me.
Just
30 to 4, is it okay?
Mataji,
Okay,
can you
Mataji.
repeat it, Mataji?
Parthasati Govind Prabhu, what is convenient timing for you?
It's okay for me, Mataji.
2:30 to 4?
Yeah, today 2:30 to 4, no problem.
Okay. Lakshmi Narayan Prabhu, how about you? Lakshmi Narayan Prabhu, are you there? Rajamallu Prabhu, how about you?
Okay, Mataji.
Okay. Kalyani Mataji, is it okay for you?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. So what I'll do is again, I will just put a message that we are having class from 2:30 to 4. 4:15 tak we'll just stretch. Okay, na? So Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrind ki jai, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.